Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're plunging into a topic that's, well, it's not just exciting, it's incredibly relevant to uh, all our futures, really.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the truly astounding growth of the global artificial intelligence market, AI.
Yeah.
And this deep dive, it's based on a fantastic source, the Soaring Global AI Market, 2021-2033 forecasts by Cognitive Market Research.
A really comprehensive look.
Exactly. So our mission today, let's unpack these monumental numbers, these surprising trajectories, and really understand AI's profound economic impact over, well, just the next decade.
Giving you that shortcut.
Right, giving you a shortcut to understanding this massive shift.
And you used the word astounding just now, and I think that's absolutely fitting.
It feels right, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
The figures we're about to explore, they aren't just large. They represent something. Well, unprecedented. An almost unbelievable surge that's set to transform nearly every single sector of the global economy. This isn't just growth, like adding a bit more each year. It's more like a fundamental recalibration of how value is created.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's start with the really staggering global figures then.
Let's do it.
Our source tells us the AI market stood at a substantial $124.842 billion back in 2021.
Which was already pretty big, right?
Already significant. But then it's projected to surge to $384.5 billion by 2025, just next year.
A huge jump in just 4 years.
And here's where it gets really compelling. The forecast balloons to an astounding $3,647.27 billion by 2033.
Just let that sink in. Over $3.5 trillion.
It's mind-boggling. And it's fueled by this breathtaking 32.475% compound annual growth rate, the CAGR.
Over 32% year on year, compounded.
Which means the market is set to grow nearly 30-fold. 30 times.
Yeah.
In just over a decade.
Yeah, think about that. 30 times bigger than it was in 2021.
Incredible.
And what's fascinating here, and like you said, it isn't just a number on a page. It clearly underscores AI's transformative impact.
Right.
Across different sectors.
Right.
We're seeing it drive completely new waves of technological innovation, creating economic value in ways we maybe didn't even anticipate a few years ago. It's really shifting the foundations of industries.
Can you give an example? Like, where are we seeing this?
Sure. I mean, think about healthcare. AI is speeding up drug discovery. It's helping personalize treatments for patients. Or look at manufacturing.
Okay.
Optimizing supply chains, powering predictive maintenance so machines don't break down unexpectedly, things like that.
So real-world impact.
Exactly. And a lot of this systemic change, it's being fueled by breakthroughs in things like, large language models, the stuff everyone's talking about, and computer vision,
Right.
which just makes AI more accessible, more powerful for a much wider range of uses.
Okay, so with that kind of explosive global expansion, where is all this growth actually happening? Geographically.
Good question. Where are the hotspots?
Let's turn our attention to North America first. The market there, it grew from $36.329 billion in 2021, and it's forecasted to reach $992.057 billion by 2033. Almost $1 trillion itself.
Still massive growth.
Definitely. But here's something intriguing. The source material lists a regional CAGR figure for North America of 0.317%.
0.3.
Yeah, 0.317%, which seems, well, curiously low given that huge market expansion, doesn't it? It almost looks like a typo.
Yeah, you're absolutely right to spot that. That regional KGR figure, the 0.317% for North America, it does indeed look like a typo.
Right.
It just doesn't square with the massive growth we see when you drill down into the actual countries in the region.
Okay, so what do the country numbers show?
Well, take the United States, for example. It expanded from $29.172 billion in 2021 to a projected $786.007 billion by 2033.
Wow, that's huge.
And that comes with a very solid CGR of 31.582%.
Right.
Over 31%.
Okay, that makes much more sense.
Exactly. And Canada also shows really strong growth, 32.54% CGR, hitting $129 billion by 2033. Mexico isn't far behind either, 31.968% CAGR.
So consistent strength across the region, then?
Definitely. This robust growth in North America, it's largely driven by significant enterprise AI adoption, particularly in sectors like finance, tech, and healthcare. They're really embracing it.
Making it a clear powerhouse, despite that odd summary number.
Precisely. Just a glitch in the summary, it seems. The underlying growth is undeniable.
Okay, let's move across the Atlantic. What about Europe?
Europe's also seeing very strong growth.
The numbers show it rose from $25.468 billion in 2021 to an expected $700.276 billion by 2033,
Just behind North America in total value, but still huge.
and posting a very healthy 31.883% CAGR. So very much in line with that global trend.
Exactly.
And we're seeing some truly substantial national markets there, too. Germany, for instance, scaling to $165 billion by 2033 with a 32.673% CAGR.
Germany's a big player.
And the United Kingdom reaching nearly $93 billion at a 32.35% CAGR.
Yeah, and looking at Europe more broadly, what really stands out is just how consistent those high growth rates are across really diverse economies.
Right, not just the big two.
Not at all. You look at France, it's got a 31.119% CAGR. Sweden is up there at 32.089%. It really underscores AI's widespread, deep adoption. It's not just happening in the traditional tech hubs. It's spreading across the continent's varied industrial and service sectors.
So broad-based growth.
Very broad-based. It suggests maybe a region that's quite carefully integrating AI, perhaps even helped by, progressive regulatory frameworks that are trying to foster trust and adoption.
Interesting point. Okay, this all leads to a big question, though.
Yeah.
Where is the most dramatic growth happening globally?
Ah, yes. The leader of the pack.
This is where the numbers get really compelling, I think.
Yeah.
Our source points squarely at Asia-Pacific.
Yeah.
Surging from $41.697 billion in 2021 to a massive $1,316.66 billion by 2033. That's over $1.3 trillion.
Overtaking North America by 2033, according to these forecasts.
And fueled by a truly remarkable 33.349% CAGR, the highest regional rate.
It really is.
So what is driving this incredible acceleration in Asia-Pacific?
Well, this region is undeniably leading the charge. And when you dive into the standout countries, India really jumps out.
India.
Yeah, India has the highest national CAGR in the whole report, 34.329%.
Wow.
Projecting a market size that will grow from about $6.4 billion to nearly $220 billion.
Incredible rate of growth. What's behind that in India?
It's not just raw adoption, I think. We're seeing really aggressive government initiatives like Digital India pushing things forward.
Okay.
Plus, there's a booming startup ecosystem there, specifically leveraging AI for, local market needs that kind of differentiates their growth path.
Fascinating. Who else is big in Asia-Pacific?
Well, China obviously makes a huge contribution, a 33.609% CAGR, driven by, vast amounts of data and significant state-backed investment in AI.
Right.
Then you have Southeast Asia as a block, growing incredibly fast at 34.101% CAGR. That indicates really rapid digital transformation across those countries.
Like Vietnam, Indonesia.
Exactly. And Singapore, too, always a key player, growing at 33.755% CAGR. It often acts as that regional innovation hub, doesn't it?
It does.
So these economies, they aren't just adopting AI passively. They're actively innovating, they're investing heavily, and they're integrating it at a really accelerated pace. That's why they're such crucial drivers of the global AI expansion.
Makes sense. Asia-Pacific is clearly the leader then, but the AI story isn't just Asia-Pacific, is it? The expansion seems genuinely global.
Oh, absolutely. We definitely need to acknowledge the significant growth happening elsewhere, too.
Right, like South America. It's advancing from roughly $10 billion to nearly $300 billion, $296.231 billion. That's with a robust 32.687% CAGR.
Still very strong growth.
And the Middle East climbing from about $7 billion to over $200 billion, $208.514 billion at 32.685% CAGR.
Again, very consistent.
And Africa, too, growing from around $4.5 billion to $133.5 billion with a solid 31.968% CAGR.
Yeah, and just to illustrate how pervasive this growth is, you can pick out some really impactful examples from these regions.
Like where?
Well, take Argentina in South America. It's showing a very strong 33.479% CAGR. That reflects growing tech investment down there.
Okay.
In the Middle East, the UAE stands out, growing at an impressive 33.507% CAGR. That's clearly fueled by those ambitious national digital transformation agendas they have.
They're investing heavily.
They really are. And if you look at Africa, South Africa is set to reach a significant $62.25 billion market by 2033, maintaining a 32.642% CAGR. That indicates really strong foundational growth.
So it's not just the established tech giants.
Not at all. These figures truly demonstrate that AI's influence is spreading everywhere. And often it seems like it's accelerating as these regions use AI to kind of leapfrog traditional stages of development.
Fascinating. Okay, so let's pull this all together. What does this all mean for you, the learner, listening in today?
Yeah, the big picture takeaway.
Well, to reiterate that core summary from our source, the global AI market looks poised to grow nearly 30-fold by 2033.
30-fold. It's still staggering.
powered by this remarkable 32% plus CAGR, pretty much across the board, all regions, all countries showing strong growth.
Uh-huh.
And we've seen those standouts like India, Southeast Asia, Singapore, China, really leading the charge in regional growth. But alongside really robust expansion everywhere else, North America, Europe, South America, Middle East, Africa.
And stepping back, what this unparalleled expansion truly signifies. It's AI's status not just as another technology, but as a central pillar, a core component of future tech-driven economies.
Right. It's becoming fundamental.
Exactly. It's not just about, silicon chips and lines of code anymore. It's about a fundamental reshaping of how economies function, how value gets created, and how industries are going to operate in the decades ahead.
It sounds transformative.
It is. Of
Yeah.
course, realizing this full potential, it still relies on continuous innovation, developing the talent needed, building robust infrastructure, all that needs to happen.
Sure, challenges remain.
But the trajectory, that underlying direction of travel, seems undeniably clear based on these numbers.
Wow. Well, this deep dive has certainly shown us the truly explosive trajectory of the AI market. It's crystal clear that AI isn't just some tech buzzword anymore.
Far from it.
It's a monumental economic force that's already in motion and, frankly, accelerating rapidly.
And what this truly signifies is that fundamental shift we talked about. So maybe this raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider.
Okay.
As AI becomes this central pillar of global economies, how might these varying regional growth rates, Asia Pacific surging ahead, North America and Europe still huge but growing slightly slower, other regions catching up fast, how might all that reshape global economic leadership over the next decade?
Interesting question.
And maybe what new industries or even job roles might emerge from this transformation, things that perhaps we can barely even imagine today.
Lots to think about there. A really provocative thought to end on.
Hopefully.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating and slightly mind-bending world of the global AI market.
A pleasure.
We really hope this has given you that shortcut to being well-informed and maybe sparked even more curiosity about where this is all heading.
Welcome to the deep dive. We like to cut through the noise here and really zoom in on what matters. Today, we're tackling something huge, the artificial intelligence market. It's not just tech talk. It's really rewriting, everything. We're going to unpack its incredible growth, look at some maybe surprising hurdles, and explore the really cutting-edge trends shaping things, say, between 2021 and 2033. Think of it as your roadmap for understanding this massive force. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is just how fast AI is becoming part of, almost every industry. So this deep dive is pretty essential, not just for grasping the tech, but for understanding how businesses themselves are changing fundamentally.
Okay, so let's start with that rapid expansion. The research we've seen points to a few key drivers. The first one seems to be this huge uptake by enterprises, big companies across loads of different sectors. What does that adoption actually look like day to day for a company? Is it just, buying software or something deeper?
Oh, it's much deeper than just buying software. That's a great question. Companies in places like healthcare, finance, retail, even automotive, they're not just adding tools. They're fundamentally rethinking how they do things. Imagine AI in finance, not just, say, speeding up transactions, but spotting fraud patterns a human would miss entirely. Or in healthcare, maybe personalizing treatments with incredible precision, stuff that used to feel like science fiction, really. It's about using things like predictive analytics, that's AI looking ahead, forecasting, virtual assistants, intelligent automation platforms, all aimed at automating workflows, cutting operational costs significantly, and really improving that customer experience. And this is driving enormous global demand, both for AI software and the hardware it runs on.
Right. That enterprise push is clearly massive.
Yeah.
And it's not just about internal stuff, making things run smoother inside the company, is it? Our research points to this almost unstoppable demand for AI that directly touches how businesses interact with us, with the customer.
Exactly. Which brings up the obvious question. How are businesses using AI to connect with you, the customer? Well, we're seeing a lot of reliance on AI-powered chatbots,
Yeah.
and personalized recommendation systems, think Netflix or Amazon suggestions, and also sentiment analysis engines, which basically try to figure out the mood or opinion in text or even speech. These tools, they're not just neat gadgets. They're really designed to give you tailored, real-time experiences. They boost service, help keep customers loyal, and drive marketing that's based on actual data. It's a huge accelerator for AI adoption, no question.
Yeah, you can really see that. And of course, none of this works without the data, right? And the infrastructure to actually handle it all. Our deep dive highlights that the growing amount of big data available, plus that solid cloud infrastructure, is another crucial driver. It almost sounds like companies have become data monsters, needing more and more to feed the AI.
Well, yeah, connecting it to the bigger picture, it really is about scale. Data generation is just exploding, isn't it? From IoT devices, your smart thermostat, industrial sensors, whatever, plus enterprise systems, social media, it's everywhere.
Hmm.
So companies need AI systems that can scale up, that can process all this, often in real time. And cloud platforms, they provide that flexible deployment, quick access to series computing power, and they integrate relatively easily with existing systems. It makes putting AI into practice much, much smoother.
Okay, so the growth picture is clear, but it's not all smooth sailing. The sources we looked at also point out some pretty significant roadblocks. The first big one seems to be cost, the initial investment, getting it all set up. It's
Okay.
expensive, right? This isn't like installing an app.
No, definitely not. And that's a really crucial point. Developing and deploying these sophisticated AI systems, it's not cheap. You need advanced infrastructure. You need highly skilled people who are also expensive and hard to find, but we'll get to that on ban. And you need to integrate it smoothly into how the business already works. That's complex. For many, especially small and medium-sized businesses, and particularly in developing countries, these costs can just be too high. A real barrier. It naturally limits how widespread the adoption can be.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then there's the other big one, which you kind of expect with all this data flying around, privacy and security concerns. The more data you have, the bigger the risk if something goes wrong, isn't it?
Absolutely. And what's striking here is this inherent tension, right? AI needs vast amounts of data to learn effectively, but that data is often really sensitive stuff, personal details, corporate secrets, so that creates significant risks. Data breaches, misuse of information, falling foul of strict regulations like GDPR in Europe or HIPAA in healthcare. But it's more than just avoiding fines. It's fundamentally about building and maintaining trust in a world that's increasingly run on data. That trust is becoming a critical competitive advantage. If a company messes up, the damage isn't just financial, it can destroy user trust.
Right, the trust factor is huge. Okay, and finally, there seems to be a very human bottleneck, a shortage of people with the right AI skills. It feels like everyone wants AI, but there aren't enough people who can actually build it, manage it, refine it.
That's spot on. The demand for AI talent far outstrips the current supply. It's created a critical talent gap.
Right.
We're talking about really specialized roles, data scientists, machine learning engineers, yes, but also AI ethicists, people designing the algorithms themselves. And this scarcity, this lack of skilled people, it directly slows down innovation. It slows down deployment. It's a real bottleneck in many parts of the world.
Okay, so challenges are definitely there, but despite them, the AI field is just buzzing with innovation. Our sources highlighted three really transformative trends. The first one, and maybe the one getting the most headlines right now, is integrating generative AI into business. This feels like a massive shift.
It is a massive shift, truly revolutionary. Models like, ChatGPT for text or DALE for images, they're fundamentally changing how work gets done. Everything from writing marketing copy or code to creating images, even customer support. Think about it. These tools aren't just automating existing tasks. They're generating completely new stuff, content, designs, code snippets. So it's not just about being more efficient. It's kind of like supercharging human creativity and productivity, drastically cutting down the time it takes to get things done.
Wow. Okay, so with those powerful new tools, but also the concerns we talked about, privacy, bias, what's happening on that front, our dive points to a really strong push towards explainable AI and ethical AI. It feels like a direct response, doesn't it?
Precisely. It's a direct consequence. As people, quite rightly, become more concerned about things like algorithmic bias, where an AI might accidentally reflect or even amplify societal prejudices and just in general accountability, who's responsible when an AI makes a bad decision? Organizations are investing heavily in making AI systems more transparent and explainable, so you can understand why it reached a certain conclusion. And this isn't just about ticking regulatory boxes. It ties into broader ideas of corporate social responsibility, especially in really sensitive areas like healthcare, banking, law enforcement. Trust is absolutely essential there. It's about building confidence in these incredibly powerful systems.
That makes a lot of sense. Building trust seems key. Okay, and the final big trend our deep dive uncovered is the expansion of edge AI. So moving AI away from just the cloud, what does edge AI mean for how AI works in the physical world around us?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. This trend is all about bringing the AI processing closer to where the data is actually generated,
Yeah.
the edge. So instead of sending everything back to some big centralized cloud server, companies are deploying AI models directly onto devices. Things like your smartphone, wearables like smartwatches, or sensors in a factory or a car. The big advantage, it allows for real-time decision-making with very low latency, very little delay, because the thinking happens right there. This opens up all sorts of next-gen applications, autonomous vehicles making split-second choices, smart cities reacting instantly to traffic flow, industrial IoT systems optimizing on the fly. It means you get local, context-aware intelligence that doesn't always need that constant connection back to the cloud. It's truly transforming industries by putting intelligence right where the action is.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening? We've clearly seen the AI market isn't just growing, it's fundamentally changing, well, pretty much every industry. You've got these powerful drivers, companies adopting it, the push for better customer experiences, the scalable cloud platforms. It looks set for more expansion.
Yeah, but it's definitely not a straight lineup. Companies have to wrestle with those big upfront costs, the regulatory maze around data privacy, and that ongoing challenge of finding enough skilled people. But the insights from this deep dive really show that these innovations, generative AI, explainable algorithms, edge AI, they aren't just buzzwords. They are genuinely defining what the next era of AI is going to look like.
Absolutely. So as AI gets woven ever deeper into our lives, into our work, maybe here's something to think about until our next deep dive. What new ethical questions, what societal shifts might pop up as edge AI becomes more common, making these real-time local decisions, often without a human constantly checking in? Something to mull over. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.